What's up, man? I know that I promised you that I'd give you an update on this machine like months ago, but okay, first of all, that's pretty cool. I've got the light rewired, and I polished up the chrome faceplate. I redid the tension and just cleaned it up a little bit. I didn't like scrub it or anything like that with kerosene. I just did a little bit of surface stuff and used a couple of Q-tips, but generally it's super clean. So really happy about that, happy about how it looks, and stitches well too. So what I've got is a kind of a Japanese fabric headband that I'm making for my local store, Jaeger Subsurface Paintball. And the terry is right here. So what I always like to do, and I probably told you this before, is I like to start the, let's pull it a little bit more. I like to start the stitch before where the tag would be. I mean, well, before where the terry is, because the knots and things that I'll make underneath on the other side are going to be covered by the tag, so it's going to look a little bit cleaner than just having a bunch of stitches on the tail hole, I think. I mean, you know, you do you. So let's start it. I did have to adjust the height of the presser foot, so I loosened the nut inside the faceplate, loosened that, and then I reset the height to the Singer 15, which again, I'm assuming that this machine, for the most part, the specs are clones of the Singer 15. So that's kind of how I went about doing it. And I had to adjust the foot because the needle wasn't dead center. It was like nearly rubbing against the toe on the right, which is no good. So anyway, so here's the terry right here, and let's give it a shot. So one thing I learned with my vast years of making headbands is that, let's get a little bit closer, shall we? Why not? So the reason on these machines why the tails are so difficult is because the tail is very narrow, so there's not a lot of fabric for the presser foot to grip to. So what I usually do is I use a finger to press like right here, just to give the fabric a little bit more stability. And that seems to help, so I don't have to hand turn the corners very often. So let's see if it works. It does kind of complain a little bit, but let's give it a whirl. So it bucks a little bit in sucking up the fabric. You can kind of see that it's having a problem with it, but that stitch looks fine, so it is a little annoying because this foot doesn't actually have as long of a feed dog as, you know, the long feed dog is on this side, and then this is a little baby feed dog, so the feeding is not quite as good, but the stitches look clean and they look straight, so if you don't tell, I won't either. So let's keep going. Terry corners right here, so I usually go pretty slow. So that's not really necessarily a jab against this machine, it's just how I like to do that corner so it doesn't look too rounded or too close to the edge. This is quilting fabric, so it's a little bit softer than denim, so I can see that the edges are pulling away from the foot a little bit. Just because, you know, the terry is right here. So as the foot is pushing down, it's kind of like pulling the fabric away from the end toe, which is not, you know, a great sign. But with this fabric, it's kind of unavoidable unless I used a much smaller terry towel, which I don't want to do because I like the size that I use. So I'm just gonna go slowly to compensate. Not a big deal. Just gonna go slow. Not a fucking rush. And got my little clips to tell me where the hole is from the turning, so I can make sure that the top side and the bottom side match. Nothing more frustrating than seeing the top stitch, you know, not pin down both the sides evenly. I mean, it's never going to be 100%, but as long as it's pretty close, I don't really care. I think we're almost there. Close enough. Oh, look at that. Dead on. That never happens. So we're just gonna keep on trucking. I think that what might actually be happening is I think that my feed dogs are coming up too high, because it almost so the feed dogs are moving this way. So what it's trying to do is it's trying to pull the fabric into the machine, but I think that when the feed dog comes up, it's coming up too high and it actually kind of pushes the fabric a little bit towards me. I don't know. I noticed that on the 201 as well, so maybe it's just a design issue with just the 2 feed dogs instead of the 3 like civilized modern machines. But, you know, it doesn't really affect me because I still make pretty clean stitches. It just means that I have to go a little bit slower than if I'm using my Juki Industrial, because that thing is a fucking beast and seems to sew through anything. See what I'm saying? I don't know if you saw that, but it, like, the edge of that fabric lifted up as it's sucking it in, which is annoying. I think that it probably means that the feed dogs are just hitting it at the wrong angle, or maybe they're too sharp. I know these old machines, the feed dogs are pretty sharp, whereas the new ones are a little bit more, you know, they're shorter. Like each feed dog tooth is narrower. So I don't know. I'm not an expert. I just use this thing. Okay, so we're getting into the final stretch, and what I need to remember to do is pull that thread through to the back side, because I don't want to lock the stitches in by stitching over them, because that's going to make bulk. What I like to do is, if I'm going to make any bulk, I put the bulk right under the tag. And what I mean by that is that I, like you do with your leather tags, I pull the threads to the backside, and then I tie a little knot. Which is, I think, the same thing that Paul does when he makes headbands. I don't even know if he still sews. So busy with his baby and his business and whatever else he's busy with. I'm wearing shoes right now, so the pedal feels different. Normally I sew barefoot, so that's why I'm so hesitant to start, because the pedal pressure feels different. Okay, so now I pull out enough for me to use. And then what I'm going to do, I've got my microphone right here so you can see where you can hear my voice from. I'm just going to pull the other loop to the back side and drop my pin and bump my head on the lamp. Things are happening over here, all are. So now I'm just going to tie it once. Make sure it's still tight. Twice. 3 times a lady. So it doesn't, it doesn't look as elegant as having the knot on the front side and then stuffing it into the hole from the tag like you do with the leather tags. But these are embroidered tags. They're not really thick enough to conceal the knot. So not a big deal. And then I'll do the same thing with the tag. So when I turn my headbands over, I've got 2 little knots. Sometimes I burn them and sometimes I don't. My issue with burning the fabric, the threads, is that sometimes I burn too much and it just makes a mess. So I just prefer to keep it as a knot. And because this pattern is so busy, you can't really see it anyway. Like, you can't even see it. It's right there. And I can put the light on it a little bit more. Right there. You can barely see it. So, anyway, so this is the back side of a headband. This is what they look like. That's terry towel right there. Pretty straight. That was pretty disgusting. I apologize for burping. Yeah. Looks fucking good. Looks like that Oliver Doofer made this one. Anyway, man, I'll try to send you more videos. I'm still around and I'm still sewing. I just, it's been kind of a busy summer, so haven't had as much time to sew as I would have liked, but that's okay. So anyway, talk soon.